All right, Genesis 29, let's call this one fair exchange. Why? Because it's directly about an unfair exchange that indirectly turns out to probably make for a fair exchange. And let's see if we can see why. Well, first of all, Jacob is now traveling in the land of his mother's kinfolk, looking for a wife. Why? Because he had to flee his home after making Esau mad enough to kill him. If you remember a couple of chapters back, Jacob stole the blessing from Esau. Esau gets upset and they have to send Jacob away in order to create the peace. And while he's there, he's not only looking for her, but he finds a young woman that he's willing to marry. He bargains with her father to work 7 years in exchange for her hand in marriage. That father is Laban, and the young woman he's working for is Rachel. After he finishes the 7 years, he goes to Laban and says, "My time is completed, so please give me my wife." And this is how it reads from there. Verse 21, then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife that I may go into her, for my time is completed." So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. But in the evening, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. And he went into her. Laban gave his female servant Zilpah to the daughter Leah to be her servant. And in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, "What is this that you have done to me? Did I not serve you 7 years for Rachel? Why then have you deceived me?" Well, Jacob, that might go back to the fact that you did something real similar to your brother back in chapter 27, when we see Isaac trying to calm Esau down after Jacob has essentially deceived him out of his blessing. Verse 34, as soon as Esau heard the words of his father, he cried out with an exceedingly great and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me even also, O my father." Verse 35, but he said, "Your brother came deceitfully, and he has taken away your blessing." And so, oh, how 7 years can make us forget and lose track of our self-awareness. And that is a lesson for us when we do stuff to folks that is less than above board. We can expect down the road, no matter how long it takes, to endure that same kind of treatment. And that's exactly what we're seeing Jacob go through here. See, if it happened right away, it might have been easier to take. But when God allows the passage of enough time for us to forget, then, it probably stings a little bit more. And that seems to be what Jacob is going through right here, because it's not immediately apparent that he should have thought about, it's not immediately apparent that he should have thought about the similarity between what was happening to him now and what he had done a few years earlier. And so my first wish for us is that we ask God not only for his forgiveness, but the awareness that as we move forward and we stumble into situations that may be very similar to things we've done to people in the past, that he give us the calmness and peace of mind to, one, realize how this actually might be a fair exchange, even in the moment, even though in the moment it might be an unfair situation. Not only do we realize that it's a fair exchange for things we've done in the past, that we go back and we learn to empathize with what people might have been going through during the times when we treated them in ways that were probably less than fair. But as we always try to do, we don't always want to leave these stories on a down note. One of the things that stuck with me through the years about this story is actually in verse 20. Even though he was cheated, this is the way it describes the 7 years that he worked for Rachel. Verse 20, so Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days because of the love he had for her. May we all have a love that makes the work that we have to do for it seem as nothing. That's my blessing and wish for all of us. And it's the reason why, once again, I so often say God's best to you as you go forward in him, because I haven't been married, but I've talked to enough folks who seem to unanimously say it. Marriage is tough enough for everyone that you need divine intervention to make it work out. And I firmly believe that God is the one who can make your 7 years or however long you have to work for your love seem as nothing. And so I'm wishing for all of us the kind of love that makes the toil seem worth it, no matter how much we have to go back and reflect on things we probably shouldn't have done and moments we wish we had back. And so ultimately, from this story, hoping we learn 2 lessons. 1, the empathy that we probably should have had for folks we wronged. And then 2, the kind of love from God that makes it all seem worth it in the end, no matter what.